This is my best Nicolas Cage. Woo! Yeah, what's up, guys? This is Jason, Zombie Collector, and this is a score to settle. I picked up this bad boy from the Dollar Tree this past week. Thought I'd do a little film review of it. I got it for, of course, $1. And I actually like this movie. I was telling some people online it's a restrained Nicolas Cage performance. And we know ever since Mandy that Nicolas Cage and restrained is not really you don't use those two words in the same sentence too often, or name and then word, restrained and Nick Cage. It doesn't happen too often. But he actually restrained, and somebody said, well, how many Nick Cage, what was the level of restraint, how many Nick Cage restraints do we have, or what level of Nick Cage restrained okay, no, like kind of wackiness of Nick Cage, how many wacky levels of Nick Cage do you get on this? And I would say it's a solid 4 wacky Nick Cage levels, because he's not full on, like Mandy or that new one with the puppet one where he's killing the puppets or fighting the puppets, like what I can't even remember that. It's like Willy's Warehouse of Wonders or something. I don't know what it is called. I mean, that is probably the level of wackiness, craziness, unhingedness that you can expect a lot of times from Nick Cage. But you got to think about it. Nick Cage is a really good actor. I think he makes these movies now, and I guess it's because he has all these trouble with his lady folk, all his ex-wives. He keeps getting divorced and remarried and having kids, and they're probably taking him for every penny he has, because like he just does anything to throw at him. I mean, like if I wanted to throw him a 5 down and say, hey, can you read this phone book for the next hour, he'd probably take my money. I mean, it just seems like he's done everything right now. But he did really good movies. Like, movies I thought were really good. I mean, Raising Arizona, okay? Bring Out the Dead. I mean, The Rock. Con Air is a good one. It's a fun movie. I mean, Ghost Rider was fun. I enjoyed that. I mean, there's a lot of movies he's done. What adaptation? I mean, all kinds of stuff. I mean, he's done a bunch of great movies, and I'm forgetting a whole bunch, of course, too. But he's a great actor. I mean, he's definitely, he's kind of like Keanu Reeves in some ways. He definitely does Nick Cage a lot of times, but that's okay. But his level of unhingedness has definitely ratcheted up a bit. With that being said, a score to settle is a guy here. His name's Frankie Carver, and he gets released from prison after 19 years in prison. And so he ends up going to prison, taking the rap. He worked for like a small time or small group of gangsters, whatever you want to call it. And he took the rap for him, even though it was like his boss who ended up killing this guy and beat him up with beat him to death with a baseball bat, and everybody else pretty much just threw Nick Cage under the bus, and he said he'd take the rap for him with the idea that they would take care of his son while he was in prison. His son was like just a little kid, like 3 or 4 years old or something. So I'll take the rap. I'll take what's coming to everybody else. I'll take full responsibility. You just take care of my wife and my son. Well, his wife ends up dying. I'm not for sure of what. I think it was a drug overdose or something. And then they were supposed to take care of his son. So 19 years pass. He ends up getting out of prison. He meets up with his son. His son comes and meets him getting out of prison, and then he goes and finds all this money that they promised him, or that he got. I think it was promised to him for taking the rap, and it was like $450,000 or some large amount of money. And he goes and gets that money, and then he starts living a very lavish life, because you find out right before he gets released from prison that he's sick and dying because he has some kind of weird disease where he has insomnia, and since he never gets any sleep and he refuses to sleep, it's eventually going to kill him. That's essentially the whole thing. So he's kind of on borrowed time when he gets out of prison, because what he's going to do is when he finds out that they've let his son become like a drug addict, and he's just he just had such a terrible life while his dad was rotting in prison, and he trusted his partners and his like boss, the head mafia boss or gang boss or whatever, to take care of him. And they did, and they just let him become this crackhead essentially, and that they didn't take care of his family, that he was going to seek revenge because he held up his end of the bargain, but they didn't do theirs. So he ends up going on a killing spree of trying to find everybody that was in the original gang and take them out one by one. And he meets a woman, of course, and there's a little bit of that going on. He tries to finally find the head boss, his boss, the head of the gang, and they find out some stuff about him, like he kind of kept his end of the bargain up, surprisingly, and there was some other people that were doing shady stuff behind the scenes that are involved, his son kind of, being led astray or whatnot. And as the story unfolds, you start realizing it's not everything as it appears. And Benjamin Bratt's also in this, and he does a really good job. And Nick Cage is, like I said, plays really restrained, quite frankly. There's a few scenes where he's taking like the medication to supposedly help him sleep, where he's all wild and crazy, or anytime he's sleep deprived, he uses that as an excuse to get wild and crazy and go his unhinged Nick Cage ways. But it's really short shots throughout the movie like that. It's not the entire movie, and it's very, very condensed for that. I will say the reason why I like this movie so much, and I don't know why maybe it didn't get as much push as other people, because one, it's kind of restrained for Nick Cage in the recent 5-6 years. But the thing is, there is a twist at the end you don't see coming. I don't want to say it because it's definitely worth a watch. If there's nothing else, the twist. The one thing I want to say also is, aside from the twist ending is really cool, is like, if you're a parent, it's a movie that you just see him bonding with his son and trying to make up for lost time, because he knows that he was a douchebag, human, for being involved in gangs and living this gang life, or being in a mafia type thing and doing, mafia type stuff, and that he lost out on being with his son, and he can't get those years back, 19 years, his son's a young adult, like early 20s, when he finally gets out of prison. And, and there's a lot of the movie of them bonding and trying to spend time together and trying to make up for lost time. And he tells him, hey, I'm not going to be here much longer. And, I want to try to spend as much time with you as possible and try to get back some of that time that we lost. And, of course, there's like hate. There's some hate there and animosity from the son because he thinks he abandoned him and left him to be at the vices of these like friends of his and all that. And, so you see some of that, but they work through it. And, it's really touching because it does feel like, this is a true father-son, like trying to navigate those waters of essentially 2 decades of being apart. And, you go to prison, he's a little boy, like essentially a toddler. He come back to see him, and he's a man. That's a hard water to navigate. And I feel like they do a good job, honestly. It's a really good movie, honestly. And there's some pretty intense action scenes in there. We got a 60-something-year-old Nicolas Cage, so it's not too crazy. So it's not like he's jumping through the air with, 2 pistols flying and doing leap frog splashes and jump, through the air flipping and all that. So it's nothing crazy. But, there's a lot of gun violence that happens in this movie. But I truly think if you can find this movie for $1 at Dollar Tree, it's worth checking out. I thought it was really good. I was really surprised. I went in with zero expectations. I had heard nothing about it. So hopefully I'm trying to maybe encourage a few people out there to give it a gander. And if you've seen it, let me know what you think below. I'm definitely interested to hear what other people think. And maybe you hate it. Maybe you think it's garbage. And that's fine too. I'm just interested to see what people think. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Please leave comments below. And until then, peace.